All right, settle down, Internet. Welcome to what is quite possibly the most important investigation of our time. We're diving headfirst into the fluffy, whiskered, twitchy-nosed world of small pets to answer the age-old question, who is cuter, hamster or rabbit? I know, it's like choosing your favorite child if your children were excessively furry and pooped a lot. But someone has to do it, and today, that someone is me, Ilya, and by extension, you. Because we're going on this emotional roller coaster together. Get your all muscles ready because they're about to get a serious workout. Today we're not just looking at pictures, oh no, we are going deep. We're comparing two of the most ridiculously adorable small pets known to humankind, the pocket-sized powerhouse, the hamster, and the long-eared, fluffy-tailed legend, the rabbit. Think of it as a showdown, a cute-off, a battle royale of adorableness where only one, or maybe both because let's be real, how can you actually choose, can emerge victorious. We're talking about their tiny paws, their little noses, their eating habits, everything that makes you want to squeal and immediately adopt 17 of them, even though your landlord definitely said no pets. So, grab your emotional support water bottle, maybe a snack, because this is serious business. We're going to break down different categories, analyze the evidence, and try to come to some sort of conclusion. Or maybe we'll just end up cooing over cute animal videos for 20 minutes. Either way, it's a win-win, right? Let's see who comes out on top in this ultimate cute battle, or, if it's even possible to decide. Let the games begin, may the cutest critter maybe win. Alright, you guys, first things first, let's talk about something super practical, but also, fundamentally impacts their whole vibe, size, and space. It's a big deal, literally. You can't just, get a pet and then realize you live in a shoebox and it needs a mansion. That's bad pet parenting, and we are not about that life here. So, hamsters. We all know hamsters, right? They're the definition of small, teeny, pocket-sized, if your pockets are brave enough, which disclaimer, probably don't actually put your hamster in your pocket unless it's like a vet trip and it's a secure carrier pocket. Safety first, people. So, because they're these little fluff nuggets, their space requirements are, relatively speaking, pretty minimal. You can get these elaborate cage setups with tubes and wheels and tiny hamster penthouses, which is amazing, and I fully support spoiling your pets. But the actual footprint, not massive. You could probably fit a decent hamster habitat on a sturdy desk or a bookshelf. This is great if you're living in a dorm or a tiny apartment, or if your parents are like, okay, one small pet, and it better not take over the living room. The hamster is like, challenge accepted, I'll just be cute over here in my reasonably sized home. They're like the studio apartment dwellers of the pet world. They make it work, they keep it cozy, and they can have a surprisingly rich life in a smaller designated area. Think about it, their whole world can be this intricate network of tunnels and hidey holes and a wheel for their nightly marathons. It's like a tiny self-contained universe of cute. And because they're so small, even a large hamster cage isn't going to dominate your entire existence, which is a plus for many people. You still need to give them enough room to, burrow, run, hoard food like the world is ending, but it's manageable. Now let's flip the script. Let's talk about rabbits. Bunnies. The floof monsters with the ears. These guys are a whole different ballgame when it comes to space. While you get smaller rabbit breeds, even a small rabbit is significantly larger than any hamster you're ever going to meet. Unless it's like a mutant hamster from a sci-fi movie, in which case, we have other problems. But generally rabbits are bigger. And bigger animals need bigger homes. It's just science, or common sense, or both. You can't just stick a rabbit in a hamster cage and call it a day. That would be cruel, and also probably physically impossible. Rabbits need room to hop, like actual full-body hops. They need space to stretch out, to binky, which is when they do that adorable jumpy twisty thing when they're happy. Google it, your life will be better. And to generally exist as a rabbit. This means a much larger hutch or cage, or even better, a dedicated bunny-proofed room or a large playpen area. We're not talking desk-sized anymore, we're talking a significant chunk of your living space. Think of it this way. If a hamster has a studio apartment, a rabbit is looking for at least a one-bedroom, maybe with a yard. They need legroom, people. And it's not just about the cage. Rabbits also need time of their primary enclosure to exercise and explore in a safe, bunny-proofed area. So you're committing to not just the hutch but also to creating a larger safe zone for them. This is a big consideration if you're tight on space or if you have a lot of chewable furniture, because spoiler alert, rabbits like to chew on everything. So when we're comparing, hamsters are definitely the more compact option. They're like the efficient, tiny living champions. They pack a lot of cute into a small package and a relatively small living space. If you're looking for a pet that won't require a major home renovation or a dedicated wing of your house, the hamster is looking pretty good in this category. They're unassuming in their spatial needs, but still manage to be utterly delightful within those confines. It's a testament to their adaptability, really. Rabbits, on the other hand, are making a statement. They're saying, "I'm here, I'm fluffy, and I need room to be magnificent." And they do. They need that space to live their best bunny lives. It's not a bad thing, it's just a thing you absolutely have to consider. If you have the space and you're prepared to dedicate a good portion of it to a furry friend, then a rabbit could be a great fit. But it's a commitment, not just of time and love, but of square footage. So in the grand space-off, hamsters are like, "I'm cool, I'm chill, I fit," while rabbits are like, "Behold my domain." It really depends on what you're working with in your own living situation. If you're living that tiny house life, a hamster is probably nodding sagely in agreement with your choices. If you've got a bit more room to roam or you're willing to make room, then a rabbit might be hopping its way into your heart and your floor plan. Ultimately, it's not about one being better in terms of space, but about what's realistic for. A happy pet is a pet with appropriate space, and that looks very different for a hamster than it does for a rabbit. So, round one of the cute showdown in terms of sheer spatial efficiency and not making you rearrange your entire apartment, the hamster might be taking an early lead, but is that the thing that matters in cuteness? Oh, absolutely not. We've got so much more to cover. Okay team, let's move on to a topic near and dear to my heart, and probably yours too. Food. What do these adorable little critters eat? Because, let's be honest, watching animals eat is like a top-tier cute activity. The tiny hands, the little munches, it's all just... So, hamster diets. These little guys are generally granivores, which is a fancy way of saying they like their grains, seeds, and nuts. Think of them as tiny, furry, health food enthusiasts. But also they'll totally go for a Cheerio if you drop one. Not that you should make a habit of that. Always stick to pet-safe foods, people. A good quality commercial hamster mix is usually the base of their diet. This stuff is specifically formulated to give them the nutrients they need. It's usually got a variety of seeds, grains, maybe some dried mealworms for protein if you've got a species that needs it, like a Syrian or a Robo. It's like their own personal trail mix, but, for hamsters. And then you can supplement that with small amounts of fresh fruits and vegetables. A tiny piece of carrot, adorable. A little broccoli floret, precious. Just make sure you know what's safe for them, because some human foods are a big no-no. The key with hamsters is variety, but also portion control, because these little dudes are famous for hoarding. They have those amazing cheek pouches, which are basically built-in grocery bags, and they will stuff them to capacity. It's hilarious, and also a little bit terrifying, like, where does it all go? So you give them their food and they might eat some, and then they'll stuff the rest in their cheeks and scurry off to hide it in their nest for later. It's a whole production. It's like watching a tiny, furry doomsday prepper. Now let's hop over to the rabbit menu. And I mean hop, because rabbits have a very different dietary situation. If hamsters are into grains and seeds, rabbits are basically professional hay connoisseurs. Hay is like the most important thing in a rabbit's diet. Not just any hay, mind you, usually Timothy hay or other grass hays. It should make up the vast majority of what they eat, like 80 to 90%. This isn't just for nutrition, it's crucial for their dental health. All that chewing wears down their constantly growing teeth, and for their digestion. So if you get a rabbit, prepare to buy a lot of hay. You'll have hay everywhere. It'll be your new home decor. On top of the mountains of hay, rabbits also need a good supply of fresh, leafy green vegetables. Think romaine lettuce, not iceberg, that's like watery sadness for them. Parsley, cilantro, dandelion greens. It's like they're perpetually on a very specific, very green salad diet. It's important to introduce new veggies slowly, and make sure you know which ones are safe and in what quantities. They also get a small amount of good quality rabbit pellets, but these are more like a supplement than the main course, unlike hamster food, which is often the primary component. And then there are treats. For rabbits, small amounts of fruit can be a treat, like a little piece of apple or a berry. But it's really important not to overdo it with sugary stuff because their digestive systems are super sensitive. So, while a hamster might be happily munching on a diverse mix with some fruity bits, a rabbit's diet is much more focused on that high-fiber, hay-centric lifestyle. It's less trail mix and more serious fiber commitment. It's a whole different culinary philosophy. So when you're looking at feeding, hamsters are perhaps a bit more straightforward in terms of the primary food source being a commercial mix. You buy the bag, you scoop it out, you add some fresh bits, done. It's relatively simple. You still need to be mindful of quality and variety, but the core is pretty easy. Plus, watching them stuff their cheeks is an endless source of entertainment. I could watch that all day. It's like a magic trick, but with seeds. Rabbits, on the other hand, require a bit more management in terms of ensuring they're getting enough hay, the right kinds of fresh greens, and not too many pellets or sugary treats. It's a constant balancing act to keep their delicate digestive systems happy and their teeth healthy. It's not necessarily, but it's definitely more involved and requires a good understanding of their specific needs. You become a hay expert, you start judging hay quality. It's a journey, so who wins the food round? Hamsters are like, give me the mix, I'll sort it out, maybe hide some for a rainy day. It's efficient, it's cute, it's low drama. Rabbits are like, I require a curated selection of the finest hays and freshest greens, peasant. I'm kidding, they're lovely, but their diet is specific. The sheer joy of watching a hamster meticulously select and pouch its food is peak cute, but then again, a bunny contentedly munching on a big pile of hay is also pretty darn adorable. This one is tough. Hamsters offer that incredible cheek-stuffing spectacle, which is S-tier cuteness. But the dedication rabbits have to hay is admirable. Let's call this one a very, very close call. Maybe slightly leaning hamster for the cheek action. Chapter 3. Lonely Lumps or Cuddle Buddies. Alright, next up on our cutometer, let's talk about social lives. Are these little guys looking for a BFF, or are they more of a leave me alone with my snacks kind of critter? This is super important because you want a pet whose social style matches what you can offer, right? So, hamsters. Generally speaking, most hamsters, especially Syrian hamsters, the big fluffy ones also known as teddy bear hamsters, are solitary creatures. Like really solitary. They prefer to live alone. Think of them as the introverts of the small pet world. Putting two Syrian hamsters together, especially once they're adults, is usually a recipe for disaster. They can get super territorial and fight, sometimes really badly. So if you're dreaming of a little hamster community frolicking together, for Syrians, that's probably not going to happen. They're like, this is my wheel, my food hoard, my tiny plastic igloo, get your own, and you have to respect that. Their idea of a good time is often running on their wheel at 3 a.m. while you're trying to sleep, not throwing a hamster party. Now, some dwarf hamster species sometimes live in pairs or small groups if they're introduced carefully when they're very young and are the same sex. But even then, you have to be super vigilant for any signs of bullying or fighting, and be prepared to separate them if things go south. So, social for a hamster often means their interaction with their human. And even that can vary wildly depending on the hamster's personality and how much they've been handled. Some hamsters become quite tame and will tolerate or even seem to enjoy gentle handling. Others are more like, observe my majesty from afar, human. So, if you're looking for a pet that's going to be your constant shadow or demand cuddles 24/7, a hamster might not be it. Their social needs are more geared towards a safe, enriched environment where they can do their hamster things. Their bond with you might be more about you being the reliable food bringer and cage cleaner, and sometimes, if you're lucky, a warm, giant hand to briefly explore or accept a treat from. It's a different kind of relationship, still rewarding but different. Now let's talk about rabbits. Bunnies are a whole different story when it comes to social needs. Rabbits are naturally social animals. In the wild, they live in groups in complex burrows called warrens, so that instinct for companionship is pretty strong. This means that rabbits often do really well with a rabbit companion. A bonded pair of rabbits can be the most heartwarming thing ever. They'll groom each other, snuggle up together, and generally just be adorable besties. It's like a constant live-action cute show. However, bonding rabbits can be a whole process in itself. You can't just throw two random rabbits together and hope for the best. It often requires careful introductions in neutral territory, and sometimes it just doesn't work out between two particular bunnies. But when it does, oh man, it's magical. And even if you have a single rabbit, their social needs extend to their humans. Rabbits can form incredibly strong bonds with their owners. They can learn to recognize you, come when called, sometimes, and even enjoy being petted and snuggled, on their own terms, of course. A happy, well-socialized rabbit will often seek out your company. They might nudge you for attention, flop down contentedly at your feet, or even give you little bunny kisses, which are more like licks, but still super cute. They can be surprisingly interactive and affectionate. They're not usually lap pets in the way a cat might be, as many don't love being picked up, but they show their affection in other ways. They can be playful, curious, and genuinely seem to enjoy hanging out with their people. So you've got the hamster who's mostly like, I'm good on my own, thanks. Maybe a brief respectful interaction later, and then you've got the rabbit who's often like, hey, what you doing? Can I hang out? Got any snacks? Want to watch me groom my ears for an hour? It's a pretty big contrast. If you're looking for a pet that's more independent and doesn't require a ton of social interaction from you or another animal, a hamster fits that bill. They're self-sufficient little buddies. But if you're dreaming of a pet that will bond closely with you, potentially live with a friend, and offer more overt signs of affection and companionship, then a rabbit is definitely leaning into that role. They thrive on interaction, whether it's with another bunny or their human family. That potential for a deeper, more interactive social bond is a huge draw for many people. It's like having a quiet, fluffy roommate who occasionally asks for pats. So, in the social butterfly showdown, if we're judging by who is more likely to want to be your actual buddy and hang out, the rabbit definitely takes the cake. They are inherently more social creatures with a greater capacity for forming those close, interactive bonds. Hamsters are cute in their independence, like tiny, furry hermits who occasionally grace you with their presence, but for that heartwarming, "Aw, they love me" feeling, rabbits are strong contenders. This round, I think, goes to the bunnies. Chapter 4. Fluff Management 101. To groom or not to groom. Alright, let's get down to the nitty-gritty, or should I say the fluffy. We're talking grooming and maintenance. Because all that cuteness sometimes comes with, some pets are like, I got this, and others are like, human, my fur is a national emergency, please assist. So where do our tiny contenders fall on this spectrum? Let's start with hamsters. These little guys are pretty self-sufficient in the grooming department. They're like tiny, meticulous cleaning machines. You'll often see hamsters grooming themselves. They lick their paws and then rub them over their face and fur, getting every little bit. It's actually super cute to watch. They're very fastidious. Unless they get something sticky on them or they're unwell, you generally don't need to bathe a hamster. In fact, bathing can be really stressful for them and strip their fur of essential oils. So for the most part, their grooming routine is, they do it themselves. Your job is mainly to provide them with a clean cage and maybe a sand bath if they're a species that enjoys it, like dwarf hamsters, which helps them keep their fur clean and oil-free. So, in terms of having to actively groom your hamster, it's pretty minimal. Long-haired Syrian hamsters, those magnificent fluff balls, might occasionally need a tiny bit of help if their bedding gets tangled in their majestic floof. You might need to gently brush them with a super soft brush like a baby toothbrush, but it's usually not a major daily task. For the most part, hamsters are like, grooming, handled. Next, they're the low-maintenance monarchs of the small pet world when it comes to their personal hygiene. This is a big plus if you're looking for a pet that doesn't require a lot of hands-on grooming time. You appreciate their cleanliness from afar, or while they're doing their little cleaning ritual in your hand. It's one less thing to add to your to-do list, which, let's be real, is always a bonus. Hamsters are basically saying, don't worry about my fabulous fur, human, I am a professional, and they do a great job. Now let's turn our attention to the rabbits. Oh, the rabbits and their fur. Rabbits are also pretty good at grooming themselves. They're clean animals, and you'll see them licking and cleaning their fur quite often. Bonded pairs will even groom each other, which is, as we've established, peak cuteness. However, unlike hamsters, rabbits often need some help from their humans in the grooming department, especially if they're a long-haired breed like an Angora or a Lionhead. Those guys are basically walking clouds and require serious commitment. Even short-haired rabbits shed. Oh boy, do they shed. A couple of times a year they go through a major molt, and it's like a pure explosion. You'll have bunny fur tumbleweeds rolling through your house. During these times, and even regularly between molts, rabbits benefit greatly from regular brushing. This helps to remove loose fur, which is important because if they ingest too much fur while grooming themselves, they can develop hairballs. Unlike cats, rabbits can't vomit, so a hairball can cause a serious and life-threatening blockage in their digestive system. Scary stuff. So, brushing your rabbit isn't just about keeping them looking neat, it's crucial for their health. Depending on the breed and the time of year, you might be brushing them several times a week, or even daily if they're a long-haired variety or going through a heavy shed. This is a time commitment, and it's something you need to be prepared for. You'll need to get them used to being brushed, find the right kind of brushes, and make it a regular part of their care routine. Some rabbits love it, others merely tolerate it with a look of mild bunny indignation. And then there's nail trimming. Both hamsters and rabbits need their nails trimmed occasionally, but it's often more noticeable and perhaps more frequently needed with rabbits, especially if they don't have enough rough surfaces to naturally wear them down. This can be a bit tricky with both, as you have to be careful not to cut the quick, the blood vessel in the nail, but it's definitely a part of ongoing maintenance for rabbits that you need to be on top of. Hamster nails are tiny, so it can be fiddly, but often their digging and running helps. So, when we compare, hamsters are the clear winners in the low-maintenance grooming category. They've got their personal hygiene on lockdown. You mostly just admire their dedication to cleanliness. Rabbits, while also clean animals, require a much more significant investment of your time and effort in their grooming, especially with brushing to prevent health issues. It's a labor of love and a necessity, but it's definitely more work. If you're someone who loves the idea of grooming sessions and finds brushing a pet therapeutic, then a rabbit's needs might be right up your alley. But if you're looking for a pet where grooming is largely set it and forget it, the hamster is your guy. So for sheer ease of fluff management, this round has to go to the hamster. They're just so darn self-sufficient with their little paw-washing routines. Chapter 5. Smarty Pants or just cute faces? The trainability test. Alright, last but certainly not least in our cute critter comparison, let's talk brains. Are these little guys just adorable fluff balls? Or do they have some hidden talents when it comes to learning things? We're diving into trainability. Can you teach them tricks? Can they, learn their name? Or are they just going to stare at you blankly while being overwhelmingly cute? Let's find out, starting with our pocket-sized pals, the hamsters. So, hamsters. Are they trainable? Well, yes, to a certain extent. They're not exactly going to be fetching your slippers or competing in agility trials, though a hamster agility course would be adorable, someone make that happen. But they can definitely learn some things. For example, hamsters can often learn to recognize their owner's scent and voice. They might come to the side of the cage when they hear you approaching, especially if they associate you with food, which, let's be honest, is a prime motivator for most creatures, myself included. You can also teach hamsters some simple tricks with patience and positive reinforcement. Treats. Glorious treats. Things like standing up on their hind legs for a snack, or coming when called to a specific spot in their cage, or maybe even navigating a very simple maze. It takes time, consistency, and very small, high-value treats. They're pretty smart for their size, and it can be really rewarding to see them figure things out. It's like, wow, my tiny potato with whiskers has learned. However, their trainability is, let's say, more geared towards their natural behaviors. They're excellent at learning where the food is hidden, how to operate their wheel with maximum efficiency, and the best escape routes if their cage door is accidentally left ajar. Hypothetically, of course, always secure your pets. So, while they might not be learning complex commands, they're definitely capable of learning and adapting within their own little hamster world. Their intelligence is more subtle, more about survival and resourcefulness. Now let's shift gears to the long-eared contenders rabbits. Are rabbits trainable? Oh, you betcha. Rabbits are surprisingly intelligent and can learn a whole range of things, often much more readily than people expect. They're not just cute, fluffy decorations, there's a lot going on in those bunny brains. One of the most common and incredibly useful things rabbits can be trained to do is use a litter box. Yes, you heard that right. Rabbits can be litter trained, much like cats. This is a game changer for many rabbit owners, as it allows the rabbit to have more free roam time in a bunny-proofed area without, well, little surprises everywhere. They naturally tend to pick a few spots to do their business anyway, so with a bit of guidance and positive reinforcement, you can encourage them to use a designated litter box filled with rabbit-safe litter, usually paper-based or aspen shavings, never clay or clumping litter. This alone makes them super trainable in a very practical way. But it doesn't stop there. Rabbits can also learn their names and come when called. They can be taught to do tricks like spinning in a circle, giving a high five, or rather a high paw, jumping through a hoop, or even navigating agility courses designed for small animals. There are people who do rabbit agility, and it's amazing. They respond well to clicker training and positive reinforcement, just like dogs. They're curious and often food motivated, which helps a lot in training sessions. Of course, like any animal, trainability varies by individual personality. Some rabbits are super eager to learn and pick things up quickly, while others might be a bit more independently minded, shall we say. But the potential is definitely there. They can learn routines, understand simple commands, and even seem to understand human emotions to some extent. They're quite clever little creatures, often underestimated in the intelligence department. So, when we compare the two, hamsters are capable of learning simple associations and a few basic tricks, mostly centered around food and their immediate environment. It's cute, it's fun, and it shows they're not just running on instinct, they're problem solvers on a small scale. Their trainability is charming in its own hamstery way. Rabbits, however, generally demonstrate a higher level of trainability in terms of the complexity of tasks they can learn, and their ability to be integrated into a human household through things like litter training. The fact that you can litter train a rabbit is a huge point in their favor for many potential owners, and their ability to learn tricks and commands can lead to a really fun and interactive relationship. They're like the undercover scholars of the cute pet world. So for this final round of trainability, while hamsters definitely have their moments of cleverness and can learn a thing or two, the rabbits generally take the gold. Their capacity for learning, especially practical things like litter training and more complex tricks, is pretty impressive. It adds another layer to their appeal beyond just being incredibly fluffy. So, the Smarty Pants award for this showdown probably goes to the bunnies. Whew! Okay, deep breaths everyone. We've been on quite the adorable journey, haven't we? We've delved into the tiny world of hamsters and the fluffy realm of rabbits, comparing everything from their living arrangements to their brain power. So, who do you think wins the ultimate cute battle? Is it the pocket-sized, cheek-stuffing, independently adorable hamster? Or is it the long-eared, binkying, hay-loving, surprisingly trainable rabbit? Honestly, trying to definitively pick one feels like trying to choose between, like, sunshine and rainbows. They're both pretty great, right? Personally, after weighing all this incredibly scientific evidence and, let's be real, mostly just cooing at their inherent cuteness, it's so hard. Hamsters win on space-saving and low-maintenance grooming, and those cheek pouches are just legendary. Rabbits, though, bring the social bonding, the surprising trainability with litter box skills, hello, and that majestic fluff. It really comes down to what are looking for in a pet and what kind of lifestyle you can offer. Both are amazing in their own unique whiskered ways. Let us know in the comments who think takes the crown, or if you're like me and just want to declare it a tie and adopt all of them. Don't do that unless you're prepared, obviously. Thank you so much for joining me on this epic quest for cuteness. I hope you had as much fun as I did. Don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe for more animal antics and questionable life choices, and definitely hit that bell icon so you don't miss out on whatever adorable chaos we get into next. And seriously, tell me your hamster versus rabbit thoughts below. I need to know I'm not alone in this delightful agony of choosing. Until next time, stay fluffy, my friends.